Hey there Kanga Bros and welcome back to World of Roocraft. So far it has been smooth sailing for our review series on World of Warcraft, and today we return to the Eastern Kingdoms and the Ghostlands. The exact location of the zone should be appearing on your screen right now. So let's go back to Keltalos and let's talk about the Ghostlands. Cast your mind back to the time we talked about the Blood Elves. You may remember that I told you about Arthas Menethil's attack on the kingdom. During this attack, Arthas and his forces not only killed a lot of highborn elves and resurrected them as the Scourge, they also permanently influenced their nature there. To this day, you can see the death scar marking Arthas' path to Silvermoon. But the part suffering the most is the former southern part of the Eversong Woods, now known as the Ghostlands. Scourge forces are still roaming the Ghostlands, and they overtook pretty much all the villages and arcane sanctums there. The Scourge also built a giant post there, called Deathholm. Deathholm is also the home of the highborn trader Darkhan Dratir. Oops, that's that Hawkeye dude from One Piece. There he is. I always mistake the two. Darkhan is more important to the Blood Elves' history as you may think. Fueled by his hunger for power, Darkhan was the one aiding Arthas in entering Keltalos to ravage the land. Darkhan tried to bamboozle the Death Knight to keep the Sumwell's power for himself and got executed by the Mad Prince. Darkhan later returned as an undead, and that's not all that is to him. He later tried to absorb the power of the human manifestation of the Sunwell. Don't ask, we will talk about it eventually. But he died again. Or so it seemed. The dude survived being pulverized. Later, Darkhan returned and started to terrorize the Ghostlands. He got taken down by the now Lord Regent and his former friend, Lord Termarteron, and took an arrow to the head. But guess what? Darkhan is back again. What the hell? Is he a Time Lord? Now he's more like a Lich than a Highborn, and as I mentioned before, he now commands the Scourge in the Ghostlands. In the Ghostlands, you will also find Zulaman, a 5-man heroic dungeon, and it's also the former capital of the Amani Empire. That's pretty much all it is to talk about the backstory of the Ghostlands. Not much changed since its introduction in the Burning Crusade add-on, since the zone remained unaffected by the Cataclysm. The Ghostlands are a Horde-only zone, and it is accessible for questing once you reach level 10. Blood Elf players will be sent there after the time in Eversong Woods, and other players can get the starting quest via the adventure guide. There's one more thing I want to mention before we head to the story itself. It is not possible to fly in the Ghostlands, so if you're planning on going there, for example to get the Lawmaster achievement, prepare for a lot of running. Alright, with that out of the way, let's head to the actual story. Our adventure in the Ghostlands starts in the village of Tranquillion. We quickly learn that the Forsaken arrived in the Ghostlands and they are offering the Blood Elves their help. Due to the history with the Scourge, it's understandable that the Blood Elves are a little bit skeptic with the new arrivals. But they quickly warm up to them. You know, the whole the enemy of my enemy stuff. At Tranquillion, we get an overview over the 3 major storylines in the zone. The first overarching line of stories revolves around the Scourge and its stranglehold on the Ghostlands. Our task is to kill as much undead fiends as possible and to put a stop to a returned Darkhan Dratir. Another big problem is the return of the trolls in the Ghostlands. The Shadowpine trolls are growing in numbers and make it almost impossible for the Blood Elves to concentrate their power on the Scourge. We're gonna help with that problem first. So we head to the troll villages of Zebnova and Zeptala to call their numbers, and we also grab some of the weapons for our Blood Elf buddies. It's a 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing. I get that the Blood Elves aren't on friendly terms with the trolls, but our actions are a little bit of an overkill if you ask me. Not only do we kill their chief, and that would be more than enough if you ask me, we also break into their sacred crypt, burn their dead and poison their food. And the food poison part may be the worst of them all. Who messes with another guy's food? For dealing with the trolls, we earn the gratitude of the Fast Riders and they even promise to help us in our fight against the Scourge. So let's move on. A group of Night Elves came to the Ghostlands, presumably to spy on us. After we pay them a little visit and give them a warm welcome, we learn that they built some weird orbs all around the Ghostlands. These orbs turn out to be scrying orbs, and that confirms that they are actually spying on us. The Night Elves don't put up too much of a fight and redeactivate the spy devices with ease. We don't really spend much time with the Night Elves, and I was thinking about leaving them out of the review entirely. But hey, I have to reach that 10-minute duration mark somehow. This leaves the biggest and most prominent part of the story: our fight against the Scourge. Before we can march on Deathholm and confront Darkhan, we first have to deal with the undead infestations all around the Ghostlands. And the Scourge aren't the only undead pests there. While we check out the Gold Mist village, we run into a horde of Kaldorei ghosts. Who's ready for a ghost-busting montage? Oh, sorry, that's all I can play of that song before I get flooded with copyright strikes. Let's go with this song instead. Our campaign of cleansing the Ghostlands eventually brings us to the Windrunner Spire. That place is especially interesting, since it is the former home of the Windrunner family. That's right, I managed to sneak Sylvanas into a video yet again. The final obstacle on our way to Deathholm is the collection of the Stone of Fire and the Stone of Sun. Those magical crystals are supposed to help us in our fight against Darkhan and his forces. And in this review it may seem like we make quick progress, but let me tell you, it's not as nearly as fast as you may think. I left out a lot of fighting and running around. That's a thing that pisses me off a little bit. You will spend a lot of time fighting the Scourge in the Dead Scar, and just as you return the quest, you will be sent there again to fight some slightly more powerful enemy. And that's not enough. Once you think you fought against all the Scourge there, another character sends you there to collect their body parts. That means you have to go back there again and kill them all over again. Originally I wanted to mention this in the personal thoughts section of the video, but it's just so apparent that Blizzard was just artificially inflating the playtime by doing this. I just had to mention it now, sorry. So it's finally time to head to Deathholm and kick some ass. We rescue a bunch of prisoners, kill Darkhan's lieutenants, and face off with the Undying Bastard himself. And he's a really tough cookie, let me tell you. He even managed to kill me.
Maybe you just suck.
How the hell did you get in here? Shoo! Get lost!
But I want to be part of the video too.
Screw you, make your own channel. Go play some Fortnite or something.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Son of a bitch! But hang on a second. What happened to the Stones of Sun and Fire? Weren't they supposed to help me against Darkhan? And what about the Fast Riders I helped out by killing trolls? They promised to help me too. Well, at least I don't have to walk 5 minutes to get back to my corpse. Fuck you, game. Fuck you. We eventually pull off to kill Darkhan and free the Ghostlands off his grip. To celebrate our victory, we travel to the Undersea and deliver the traitor's head to Sylvanas. And with that, the Blood Elves officially join the Horde. I know, I didn't talk about the Zulaman dungeon in this review, but since it is a level 85 dungeon, it wouldn't really fit in here. That's some pro stuff.
You can watch my video on it.
Get the fuck out of here already! I take it to heart to be brutally honest with you guys. That means I don't want to sugarcoat my criticism or hold anything back from you. That's why I have to say this. The Ghostlands kinda suck. Not because of its story. I actually think that the stories about Darkhan and Darmani trolls are great. They are both integral parts of the Blood Elf story. Without Darkhan's betrayal, there would be no Blood Elves. The problem is, these story elements are introduced too late. What do I mean by that? Remember my critique of the Blood Elf starting zone? I said that things felt a little bit too rushed and cookie cutter. There isn't much story going on in the Eversong Woods, besides a little glimpse of the Wretched and the Scourge. It somehow felt half-hearted. But there is a great solution for that problem. Have the first part of the starting zone taking place in the ruins of Silvermoon, introduce the Wretched and Undead, and then immediately move on to the Ghostlands without restricting it to level 10. Combining both areas would not only introduce players to Darkar and the Trolls earlier, it would also get rid of my biggest complaint and the reason I think the Ghostlands suck. There's too much filler in it. You spend a huge amount of time fighting the same type of enemies and doing basically the same quest. Hey, go there and kill 10 zombies. What? You're done? Go back and kill 10 armored zombies. Dude, would you kindly go into the woods and kill 10 spiders for me? What? You're already back? Yeah, I need you to go back and kill 10 cats now. Yes, it is an MMORPG and that's the base behind it, but it just pisses me off when a game makes me walk for 10 minutes to reach a quest zone and has me fight there for another 15 minutes. And after it took me another 10 minutes to return, it sends me right back. And haha, I know what you're thinking. Look at the fat geek complaining about walking in a video game. Yeah, I am complaining about it, because in almost every other area, Blizzard manages to make their quests feel different and avoid sending you on needless walks. But I see why the game is doing it. They have to power you up to level 20 somehow, so you can go to another area. No wonder that most of the Blood Elf players are leaving Quel'Thalas right away. But there are some fun things in the Ghostlands I have to point out. You get to fight a pissed off water ghost, how cool is that? And the part with the highborn ghosts was interesting too.
You forgot to mention the Murlocs.
I hate you so much right now. There's also a nice little Easter egg in the Ghostland. Well, it's not necessarily an Easter egg, more like a reference. If you travel to the Windrunner Spire and fight the Scourge there, you will eventually find a necklace. This necklace is a gift from Alaria Windrunner to his sister Sylvanas Windrunner. You can bring her that necklace back to gain some bonus points with the waifu. Of course she acts all unimpressed and cold about it. Still, she summons a bunch of banshees and sings a pretty haunting song because of it. Yeah, that's the definition of being chill, isn't it? And that concludes our little video. If you enjoyed this review, let me know by hitting the like button or leaving a comment. If you feel especially generous, consider sharing this video or subscribing to the channel. In the next video we will talk about Duskwood. We'll also take Boomer apart and trade his parts for Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Bye bye!
Bye bye. Wait, what?